Welcome back. It's the admission season and parents across the country, particularly in the National Capital Region and metros, are gearing up for the tough fight to get their children into a premier school or a school they think would be the best for their little ones. A space where the child can be safe, will be nurtured, and will be allowed to grow into a better version of herself or himself. And look at those visuals on your screens. That's what children are meant to do. Children as young as 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, or irrespective of their age. But here's where every parent gets the chill. In yet another shocking case, a young 3-year-old child, a student, has been raped in a posh school in Noida. That's part of the National Capital Region, barely 25 kilometers away from the parliament in the national capital. Get that? And in what is hugely worrying, the mother of this 3-year-old child has spoken to Mirror Now, and Mirror Now did reach out to her to get her version and said this wasn't the first instance in the school. There was an earlier instance when a school worker had locked up the child in the school's medical room and sexually abused her. The worker fled the window when another worker knocked at the door, whom the girl eventually addressed as Didi. Eventually, when the teacher, also involved in this and who later escorted her to the class, the teacher claimed she must have seen some inappropriate video. And it was a student who later told the teacher, in fact, it was a student who later on, much later, said the teacher had told her not to tell anyone. This came to the fore after the second instance, in this case, a confirmed rape, when the child refused to go to school, complaining of pain in her private parts. The doctor eventually confirmed sexual assault. Case of rape has been filed. And this isn't just a case of one school. Many of you may remember the Badlapur horror, and there have been several such cases, from sexual assault to rape in top boarding schools as well. What must parents do? What must you do? But before I open this up to a panel, allow me to go across to my colleague at this point, Kritika Tiwari. Kritika, good evening. You've been trying to get responses to the story. You've been trying to talk to different officials. My only question at this point is, has the school taken action? What are the big lapses that Child Welfare Authority, police are telling you in this case, from the school side as well as the family?
Right. In fact, the allegations that we are learning of today are absolutely shocking, that this is the second incident is what the parents are claiming. And these are the most serious allegations that can be leveled. See, the parents that I have spoken to so far, they've reaffirmed that every time they've looked for schools for their children, it is keeping in mind that safety is a given. That is why they're looking at what opportunities their children can get, what more activities, how's the curriculum looking like. Because everyone believes that since it is a school, they must have done their due diligence in ensuring that safety is something that they do not even need to think about. It is a given that will come with the institution itself. But so far what we're seeing, not just here in Noida in this one incident, but over the couple of months, what we saw in Badlapur also, in fact, and in schools in Madhya Pradesh as well, this is an incident that is happening with very
some direct
children.
questions, Kritika, and I understand you're also giving us the larger picture. But first question, the school initially shrugged off their responsibility, Kritika. They said, we've not seen any visuals on the CCTV. Since then, has the stand of the school changed? Has the teacher been arrested? Has a case been filed against the teacher? What about several others in this school? How have the officials and the school responded since first this came and the first response of theirs?
Right. When we reached out to the school today, they've reaffirmed that they stand by their original statement that was issued, that we also broadcasted on Tuesday, which is that they say that they're cooperating with the investigation, that they stand with the parents, but the incident is unlikely. This is the stand that they're reaffirming today as well. They haven't responded to the fresh allegations that have come to light. As far as the investigation is concerned, it is underway. The prime accused was arrested, and the headmistress of the school has also been summoned, as the statement of the young child was recorded in front of the Child Welfare Committee as well as the police. The headmistress have been summoned, and we remain to see what happens of that when they will be coming in and recording in their statement and how the investigation proceeds. So far, the single arrest that was made of the private staffer who appeared as the main accused, he's the one that is under arrest right now.
Thank you very much, Kritika, for joining us with those details. I'm being joined at this point by Dr. Bhavna Barmi, who's a child and clinical psychologist, B.L. Vora, who's a former IPS officer, as well as Vinesh Menon, who's a Director General and CEO for Arise. Thank you very much, all three of you. Well, first, let me just very quickly go across to B.L. Vora. My first question, Mr. B.L. Vora, there's only a case against one person in the school, and that's the worker who seems to have been the accused in this case. My question is, aren't more people responsible in the school, particularly as the version of the parents come in? Where and how does the POCSO case impact schools, and what must schools do? Has the school done enough, especially when the school comes up with its first statement adding that particular phrase saying unlikely incident? B.L. Vora.
It's shocking, Sneha, if you ask me. Frankly, one is depressed when such things happen. School has acted most irresponsibly. They're backing the teacher. Teacher had told the kid not to tell at home. The child complied when the first assault took place. I think the teacher should be arrested, should have been arrested by now. And the principal also, if you ask me, should be arrested. Now, under the new law, under the BNS now, it's very stringent now in such cases. Death penalty can also be given. I think in this case, death penalty should be given fast and the fellow hanged and publicity given. But there are some larger questions which come into this being. When the school keeps the staff,
right,
they should do character verification of these people. Now, she called this fellow Khana Bhaiya, so maybe the food is outsourced. So even the outsourced agencies, their persons also, their character verification should also be done. And he may not have done only with this child, he may have done with many other children also. Yeah, you can go ahead, Sneha, if you want.
B.L. Vora, but the question is also, has the police done the right thing? Has the police done enough? At this stage, days after this incident comes to light, just a case against one person who seems to be the accused in this case, an alleged accused in this case, is that enough? We are saying there's a strong law, but have the law enforcers acted the way they need to act in cases like this?
This will be done. Immediately the prime accused has been arrested. See, ultimately police has to collect some evidence. Of course, here the statement of the child is there because she had told the teacher 15 days ago also. Maybe they'll take her to a magistrate, get the statement recorded before a magistrate also. So I think, according to you, it may not be enough, but I'm sure the police is on the right lines, but they should do fast enough.
Okay. All right, B.L. Vora, let me get in the other panelists, but a huge problem, B.L. Vora, while you're breaking down the law, let's remember, the person, a child involved in this is a 3-year-old child. Correct. The child possibly has told the parents. The child possibly has reiterated her version. A 3-year-old child has reiterated her version to the CWC authorities. The child has reiterated her version possibly to the police. And now there is a possibility that the child will have to reiterate her version to a magistrate.
No, no, but I did
Look
say,
at how
I did
our
say,
legal system is failing a 3-year-old child. Bilwar, I'll come to you. But allow me
I
to
did
go at
say
this point to
teachers should be
Vinesh Menon.
arrested.
Vinesh Menon,
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions.
I said teachers should be
Sorry,
arrested. I said
Bilwara?
in the beginning itself. Yeah, sorry.
No, I get it, but it's not just about arresting the teacher. I'm just trying to understand. We're talking about a 3-year-old child, and we've been hearing about how laws are extremely strict. But just look at how it's panning out. It's the most inhuman thing to be doing to a 3-year-old child. Though justice is very important. That's very important. I mean, I don't want any wrong person to be, to be an accused in this case. But at the heart of this is a 3-year-old child. Vinesh Menon, let me just come to you. There are lots of questions I have to ask you. But let's start with this. A school's first response. And the school saying incident is unlikely. That starts at a wrong footing, according to me. How do you look at it?
Yeah, Sneha, first of all, I think to be on a show for a subject or a topic like this is very disheartening. I really wish we've all been taught about the sentence prevention is better than cure. So I really wish we had conversations and shows like this before an incident happens so that we can start getting points together to try and prevent such things from happening. So that's just a opening line that I want to give. Uh, I'm not going to comment specifically on this case, but to me, any school, and let's not forget, there are about 1.4 million schools in this country. There are close to about 300 million kids which are going to school. There are many schools out there which are running perfectly fine with the perfect process in place. Having said that, to answer your specific question, if an incident were to
Vinesh
happen
Menon,
like
that
this, or
I
if
have an
even
issue
a
with that sentence, but please go ahead and make your point. I
let
understand
me
you're
finish.
making a larger picture, but please go ahead.
Yeah, if an incident like this has happened, or even if there is something which somewhere attributes to something like this, the first duty of any school is to report it. This is what any school has to do. It is as per the POCSO Act. It is as per the committees that have been put together in many schools. One has to report it, and therefore, if the sentence is it's not happened or you're in a state of denial, it's not the best thing to do. I think one definitely needs to report it.
Vinesh Menon, let's also just look at it. I mean, I'm also trying to understand the lapses here. And it's important to discuss the lapses. I understand this may not be the complete picture. There's an investigation which is going on. We only have certain versions, and all that is fair. But it's also important to go case by case because, as I said, this is the admission season. Parents are looking out for admissions to schools. They have a lot of questions. There are also schools and administrations and authorities that need to hear this. So my question to you, Vinesh, is let's get through all the lapses that seem to have happened in this particular case, starting with the teacher allegedly hushing up, saying, don't tell this to the parents. My question is, how can that teacher be allowed to be in this school for all these days since this came out? Case registered or not registered, but that teacher should be asked to stay away till there is an investigation that says that she did not say something like this. It's a 3-year-old child saying, and the teacher is still in the school.
Yeah, sure. So I agree with that. I agree with the policy that if there is a teacher which has come under allegation for a certain crime which is as sensitive as this, it is best to keep the teacher away for the investigation to happen, which is completely unbiased, no doubt about that. I think what is more important is that every school structure ultimately has to go through 5 or 6 or 7 points which they need to keep in mind to prevent something like this from happening. The infrastructure itself, the learning space and design, the manner in which the school is built, the manner in which the washrooms are created, the manner in which the doors of the washrooms have a certain distance between the floor and the edge of the washroom. These are all preset structures and preset processes that are there while building an infrastructure. The hiring process, the kind of people that you hire, the kind of psychometric tests that you do. I think the previous panelists, the respected IPS officer mentioned about how even vendors need to be given a due diligence. These are all very strong governance processes that exist in administration and they need to be followed. The concept of CCTVs and to understand whether they are working from time to time. There is a structure that there's a process that actually defines that. The creation of school committees to keep a watch on these kind of situations. Uh, Parent counseling. Don't forget while we understand the issues that are there in the school, the whole concept of parent counseling to make them understand that these are realities that can happen, and not just in school, mind you, it can also happen within the community outside of the school. So the concept of good touch, bad touch, the training that one needs to be given to teachers, and of course, like I said, understanding the legal
Right.
system, the need to report. These are all extremely important parameters and processes that one needs to follow while running a school. Now, if a school has failed in some of these parameters, I also believe that in India we need to have a assessment framework, just like how you do in the United Arab Emirates, where there's something called a KHDA, where parameters have to determine the kind of ranking that a school goes through. So bring in some of these structures, and then there are organizations like ours. We stand for the Association to Reinvent School Education, and there are research papers that we put together. We have a paper which is completely designed around child safety, school safety and child protection. And there are complete documents that we put together. We have submitted that to the central
Right.
government. Read these documents, have these structured and put across to all the states, make it a mandate for every school to have these. I think if we
Okay.
run through all these procedures clinically, and the word is clinically, and then be subject to audit, I don't think situations like this can happen. And yes, to answer again your question specifically, if something like this
Okay.
has
All
happened,
right,
the concerned accused should be kept to the side.
Dr. Bhavna Barmi, if I can get you in, and very quickly, uh, everybody is busy in today's world. Possibly parents are working, mother, father, everybody. There could be a nanny at home. There could be secondary caregivers who turn primary caregivers when the child is away, back at home, not in school, and so on and so forth. What would you say are the big red alerts that one needs to be very watchful for? And when it comes to toddlers, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, they will be very subtle red alerts, but they are red alerts. What should be parents and caregivers be watchful for? Dr. Bhavna Barmi, if you could unmute yourself, we don't have an audio for you.
Sneha, red alerts, actually the society should have and increase their sensitivity towards prevention of such kind of abusive and toxic environments that they provide to they provide to the children. The children as young as toddlers, 3 years of age, 4 years of age, give us very subtle signals, and we as adults must pick up those signals. Some of those signals, if they've gone through toxicity, if they've gone especially through abuse, will be a contrasting personality that the child will start showing. So, for example, if the child in the normalcy of life was a quiet child, the child, after going through toxicity or abuse, is going to become the contrast. He's going to become very aggressive, he's going to be loud, he's going to be short tempered, he's going to be maybe breaking toys, throwing things, hurting others, sometimes hurting her own self also. Second important thing is that they start becoming very alienated. They want to be on their own. Earlier, they would like to go to their friends. They would like to sit on the table with you. They would like to come and watch some screen time with you. Now, they will want to do a lot of things, if at all, on their own. And again, another signal is that these children stop doing the pleasurable activities that originally were a part of their routine life and which they enjoyed. They move away from it, they shirk away from it, because their whole life has become something that they cannot understand at this point of time. In fact, in the school,
Right.
if not
Okay.
the contrasting behavior, the academic performance decline can also be a red flag which the teachers and the caregivers there can be wary of.
All right. Okay. If I can very quickly go over to BL Vora again at this point. BL Vora, when and when a crime like this happens, when a violation like this happens, what must the parents as well as the teachers or the school really do? What should be their first response? How are they accountable under law to do so? And parents not reporting, is that also a crime? under law. BL Vora, you'll have to unmute yourself, please. BL Vora, you'll have to unmute yourself, please. Okay, I think we have an audio issue. Vinesh Menon, if I can return to you. Vinesh Menon, I wish I could discuss one important point, and that is about how many people saying that there are so many schools that are functioning well, and these are aberrations. But if you look at data, if you look at statistics, and more importantly also cases that are being reported, that doesn't really fit into the larger picture, but we'll leave that for another day. I very quickly want to ask you this question, if you could also touch upon that. But as parents approach this admission season, how should they approach the schools? Apart from the academic and the other facilities that would be there, what should be their checklist? What would parents who are watching you, what should they be really looking at?
I think the parents are pretty aware of what they should look at. I think, of course, they look at, like I said, the infrastructure of the school, the number of years that the school has been around, the past records. Don't forget, in a school, the biggest ambassadors of any school are the students and children and existing parents themselves. So it makes sense for the parents to also talk to existing parents who are already been around in that school for a long, whose children are around in the school for a longer time. You have to spend time with the academic coordinators, the principals. You have to do a school tour. You have to try and understand whether there have been any cases registered against the school for any violation. There are fire safety violations, infrastructure related violence. Any small little orange flag also
How
should
would
be
one know
probably
that,
looked
sir?
into.
I mean, Vinesh Menon, if there's somebody who's going ahead and looking for that, how would one know that?
That's precisely what I'm trying to say. So there are processes and structures that have been put in, which can be ideally disseminated to all the schools. These structures and processes have been documented by many learned educators who have been in a committee along with counselors, who have been in a committee along with academic missions, and these processes need to actually go down to every school. Now, for it to go down to every school as a mandate, the state has to adopt these processes and make that mandatory for every schools to go through. So, for example, like I said, the whole child safety and school protection, the child safety and school protection manual, or the school safety and child protection manual. My apologies. If there is a manual like this, which runs into 30, 40, 100 pages, and that has gone to the government, I think it should be disseminated into all the states. And if a parent goes to a school, they need to check if this kind of a manual is being followed. What is the school's approach to implementing the points which have been mentioned in such manuals? And the minute you get into those, and that manual has got a checklist. So that checklist it should be available on the social media, for example. And once that is looked at by a parent, the checklist can, like I said, the checklist cuts across multiple areas, and it's all captured here. So I think and that's where I mentioned that there's a lot more of work that needs to be done as far as parents counseling is concerned, as far as trying to make the parents realize how to approach an educational institution.
Okay, all right. I think we have Mr. BL Vora back, but I doubt if we have any time for another question. Do we have time for one more question? All right. Unfortunately, my director is saying we're totally out of time. I think I had a very important question to ask BL Vora, but very quickly, BL Vora, yes or no? Are parents liable to action? Are they culprits if they do not report a crime that's happened against their child in terms of violation? Are parents criminally liable?
No, I don't think so at present, at least, because not reporting a crime is not a crime generally.
All right. Okay. I think there's so much more to discuss, but for now, that's all we have. Dr. Bhavna Barmi, BL Vora, and Vinesh Menon. I think, Vinesh Menon, you had to say something, but we're totally out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you so much, all three of you.
Thank you.
Well, up next at 7 o'clock, my colleague Shreya Padhyay takes you with the latest.